Well, good evening, listeners. It's a Monday evening as I'm recording this podcast, and just really excited to be speaking today with Cory Ann Michel. She is a woman I found on Instagram. I was thinking to myself, who would I like to have on the podcast? I want to be able to talk about topics that are interesting, but also topics that are going to relate to people, and to have people on the show who can share their stories in an authentic way. And Cory Ann's Instagram was just really raw and real about what it's like being a single mom. It's not something that she chose for herself. She talks about the domestic violence that she went through and kind of her journey. And I reached out to her, and she was absolutely more than willing to come on and share. So I'm so excited to have her on and just highlight what it's like to be a single mom, just the hard, the good, all the things that come along with that. So Cory Ann, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for inviting me to share my story on here.
So Cory Ann, first I want to ask you, making a Instagram of your journey must have been really hard. Was that did you have any reservations about putting out there your story, or was it like, no, I need to do this? It was an instant, like, I've got to get it out there.
It was something that was very scary for me to do. I actually
Yeah.
had thought about it for quite a few months, and I just had this feeling deep inside, you need to share this. There are so many women out there that are in the same position that you're in, that are feeling, alone, feeling confused, feeling scared, all of that. And what helped me the most was hearing from other women. So I was terrified. And it's actually almost been a year to the date that I started my Instagram platform. So it's kind of full circle, like being on a podcast talking about it. But I was definitely scared. I was scared of what people would think. I was extremely scared that my ex would find it and use it against me in some way. I think that was probably the scariest thought I had.
And so you decided to do it more because of the ladies you spoke with, or?
hmm Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, really, it was just kind of my experience feeling alone and wanting to
Hmm.
make sure that no one else felt that way. And I felt like I was hoping at least the things that I was experiencing weren't just isolated. Not that I wanted anyone else to be experiencing those things, but I don't know. I just felt like it was something I needed to share to help other people.
Yeah. And how did your relationship start out with this guy? And, did it start out the way you'd hoped a relationship would go? Like, how did the journey start for you, which eventually ended up obviously
Yeah.
with your daughter?
I mean, it started out very quick. So I guess that's part of the journey. I wasn't anticipating my love story would look like. But I met him online, and I felt like our first date, it seemed like instant connection, instant chemistry. And he just really pulled me in on the first date. I felt all the butterfly feelings, all the excitement of, wow, I really like this person. I feel like we connect, we relate in a lot of different ways. And so that felt great. That felt like something I'd always envisioned. It almost like a love at first sight type of situation. And unfortunately, it turned pretty quickly, but also very gradually. So from the very beginning, we spent every single day together. We went on our second date the day after our first date, and spent every day together after that for a year, basically. Um, so that was probably the first big giant thing that I struggled with, because I've always really enjoyed my alone time and spending time with friends and just enjoying hobbies on my own. And that was something that I wasn't really allowed to do, because I was made to feel guilty about wanting to spend my time anywhere else than with him.
And when you first started, when he would first say things, or however he would put it, of
Mhm.
wanting to spend time with him, did that make you feel uneasy at all? Or were you kind of like, if someone loves me this much, they probably just want to spend a lot of time with me?
Yeah, I would have moments where I would feel kind of uneasy, but it quickly was replaced with feeling like, wow, he just really loves me. I had never been in a relationship that felt this serious before. And so to me, I'm just thinking, oh, this is just normal. And that's what he explained to me. Like, it's just normal. Like, when you love someone, you spend all your time together with them. And then he would say things to make me feel guilty, like, you want to spend time with your friends, but I love you so much. I just want to spend time with you. And so then I'm thinking, oh, well, I don't want you to think I want to spend time with my friends more than I want to spend time with you. So it was kind of this like competition in a way where he always made me feel like he loved me more than I loved him. So I had to prove my love for him was just the same as his for me, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it does. When's the first time you think you started feeling scared? Like something is off?
I mean, there were definitely warning signs before we even got married. And it's so hard to think about that because it's like, well, why didn't you just leave? I think that's the age-old question of being in relationships like this. Why didn't you just leave at the first red flag? But they're so good at explaining everything away. They're so good at loving you in quotation marks, making you feel so special that it's really hard. But I feel like the first time I felt unsafe, like really unsafe, was after we got married. And it wasn't just in the yelling and the cussing at me and that, which happened throughout our whole relationship. But there was one time at the very beginning of our marriage where he pulled out a knife and he didn't like come after me with it, but he was sharpening it while he was yelling at me and angry at me.
Hmm.
I mean, he just pulled it out of the blue. So obviously he was using it to scare me. And I was also pregnant. I had just found out I was pregnant at this time. So I was feeling all kinds of things, thinking, oh my gosh, like, is he going to try to stab me in the stomach and cause this pregnancy to be lost? Like, I just had so many thoughts in my head and I felt scared. Like, I really felt like I have nowhere to go. We're on the third floor of our apartment. Like, I have no exit. So that was the first time I was really scared.
And it's something I've learned too, because at first, when the situation I grew up in, I didn't think it was physical or domestic violence. Like, I wouldn't have phrased it that way because I would say, well, like nothing, it wasn't like the person shot me or like, maybe I could name one time that the person hit me or pushed me against a wall or whatever it was. And the more time I spent in therapy, it was like the domestic violence aspect is so much bigger than those big moments that you'll see on TV where it's like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, she just punched the woman, she fell down, her face is black and blue. Like that's what we think of when we would think of the domestic
Mm-hmm.
violence. But it um like you said, it took me years to understand that that was not okay. Like even just those scare tactics that would cause you to just like freeze and like be completely like, oh my gosh, like if I do anything other than what I'm being told to do right now, something bad's
Mm-hmm.
gonna happen. Like it just opened such a wide understanding of like, no, this is not okay. This is all part of that. And I think
Right.
it's something that it takes when you were saying, why did it take so long? And I'm even tempted, even after coming out of that, to say that to people is like, why aren't you getting this? But it took me years. And even then, there's still this trauma bond connection. So you hear the voice again,
Mm-hmm.
the person texts you, whatever it is, and like instantly you get that feel in your heart again, that fear. Like they don't have it
Mm-hmm.
in the room, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So I totally
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, I know that even happened, like, after if I, like, saw his car, or it wasn't even his car, but, like, a car like his, like, it would just instant shakes, like, my heart would pound, like, it's crazy how they can elicit so much fear in you even far removed from them.
Yeah. Did you um did you want to get married to him or did you just think it was like the natural next step or how was because I know for some women I've interviewed who were talking about trauma they experienced before their wedding day, like they got to their wedding and they were crying, like they didn't want to get married, but they just felt like they had to. Um, what was your experience with that?
I feel like it was kind of a mix. I definitely did not wanna get married as soon as we got married because we got married. Let me see. I met him in February and we got married in May. So it was just within a few months. And I definitely
Wow.
did not want to get married that quickly, but I was excited. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I did feel excited about it because in my mind, I loved him. Like, I really thought I loved him. I thought I'd found my person, even though he was not always nice. Um, and there were multiple times throughout our very short engagement where we called it off. Like, there were multiple times he told me, just put your engagement ring in the mailbox, I'll come and pick it up, things like that. Like, a lot. But he always promised me, like, once we get married and we're living together, it will ease all of, the burden of going back and forth, hanging out with each other, all of that. And I thought, oh, okay, like maybe we're just tired. We stay up too late, hanging out and driving back and forth to each other's houses. So it all made sense in my mind how he explained things. So, I mean, I did have excitement, but at the same time, I was extremely disappointed. Not to sound like materialistic, but in the way
Yeah.
he proposed to me, it was very just got down on a knee. It was nothing special. And he knew that I wanted something special and just, intimate and important, something that like made me feel special. Any
Yeah.
woman would want that. It doesn't have to be an elaborate proposal, but just something special. And it wasn't that way at all. And then we did end up planning a big wedding. We had a venue paid for, dress, like my dress I bought, like everything was bought and ready to go for the wedding. And then we ended up canceling it because he had told me that he didn't want to marry me multiple times. So I was like, okay, so we'll just cancel it. And we ended up just having a courthouse wedding, the two of us. So it was very disappointing. I had looked forward to my wedding day for years since I was a little girl. Like, I always knew I wanted to be a wife. I waited to be intimate with anyone. Like, he was the first person I was ever intimate with. Like, it was something that was really special to me. And I just felt like it was a massive disappointment. So to answer your question, I was excited, but extremely let down. And it was
Yeah.
this deep sense like something's wrong here.
What was the proposal? I'm imagining like
Mhm.
watching football. And he just like just gets down on one knee is like, so like how did
It was
it
a
happen?
it was a little more special than that, I guess. I can give him props for that. But, he just took me to this little like trail area. They had like a little gazebo, and he just got down on his knee there and proposed. I mean, it's pretty, but it's a place, there's moms jogging with their strollers, and it just wasn't something meaningful. It was
Right.
just kind of, and it felt very spur of the moment, just like, oh, here we go. This is the next step kind of thing.
Yeah, did you know that was gonna happen?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Which I think kind of took excitement from it too, because he kept hinting to me that he had a ring. Like, I saw the bag in his car. He didn't try to hide it. It was just very unimportant. I felt unimportant. I felt like I was not special. Like, it was just kind of something he was checking a box on.
Yeah. So after you got married, you said it didn't get better at all. It actually got
Mm-mm.
worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it got much worse, especially with the trust. He never trusted me, but it got even worse after we got married. He would go through my phone. I mean, every day, multiple times a day. I worked from home when we first got married. And so when he would get home from work, he'd immediately take my phone. I would still be working, and he would just start scrolling through it, not just text messages, phone, he would go through my calculator app, through my Facebook, looking at all my friends to see if anyone else new was added on there. I mean, in depth. He would look at my screen time, how much time I spent on each of my apps. And if I told him I wasn't on an app or whatever, he would just grill me to pieces, like
Hmm.
thinking I was hiding something. So I think that part was really bad. And then, he would go in my car and check my mileage. I mean, it was just everything. He would just look at everything, receipts. I mean, he would accuse me of going outside to take our dogs out so I could check out the neighbors. Like, crazy, crazy
Wow.
things all the time.
So you must have felt like eggshells a lot.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if I opened the curtains, I would be accused of doing so I could look at the neighbors. I mean, it was just everything I did. I couldn't even go out to check the mail, or he would accuse me of wanting to go look at the neighbors or talk to somebody. I mean, it was crazy.
Do you remember what was the most peaceful time for you while you were
Mm.
married? Like, did you have a refuge of your own that you created in your mind, or was it when he wasn't there? Was there a place you'd go just to breathe?
Mhm. Yeah, it honestly, I wanna say, "Oh, it's when he wasn't there," but that wasn't a refuge either because he would be texting me and calling me, accusing me, like, it was nonstop. So, really, my safe place was the closet, and I would always go there
Mm.
after he had raged at me and was freaking out at me. I would just go right into the closet, shut the door, like, turn the lights out, and just kind of, like, huddle behind the clothes. It's like you couldn't even see me in there, but it felt so safe. I felt away from him. I felt kind of like I was being hugged by like the small space. And I would pray in there. Sometimes I would write like a poem or something. Writing has always been just a major peace and mind reliever for me. So I would do that. Sometimes I would also just run out of our apartment. We had a walking trail near our apartment, and I would just run out there and run into the trees and just sit on the grass or on the bark and just cry and think.
Did you have any family or friends that were like, "Hey, we're worried about you"? Or did you,
Or
because he was so, like, isolationist, was it like you didn't even really get to connect with your family, your friends, because you couldn't talk to
Mhm.
them?
I was severely isolated. My mom knew a lot. She was the one person that I hold a lot to. She didn't know everything. I definitely did not tell her everything because I knew it would become a bigger issue, and I was scared. I didn't want to leave him. Like I just was not I didn't see all the abuse for what it was, and so I didn't
Sure.
want to leave him. So I didn't tell her everything. And my friends knew a little bit. They actually moved me out of the apartment about a month after we moved into it and got married. I had a friend come over when I was crying. I was on the kitchen floor. I was pregnant, like just brand new pregnant. But she listened to me about some things that were going on and she was like, "We need to get you out of here." So her and some other friends came over and moved me out that night. But that was about it as far as what they knew. They weren't super involved after that because, again, my ex, I mean, he just ostracized me from my friends. I mean, I was not really allowed to see them. And if I did go out with them, I mean, it would just be accusations and questioning me severely when I got back.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, I mean, you're so tired in general, just
Mhm.
emotionally tired. So, like, there's that, like, do I want to do this to go home and then face all this emotional backlash about this? Is it worth it?
Right.
Did you, I know going back to what you said earlier, you said you didn't understand the magnitude of the abuse you were under. What did you say to yourself about the behavior? Like, did you think, okay, I
Mm.
deserve this, or like this is what love looks like? Had you seen anything different? Like, how did you explain it to yourself so it made
Yeah.
sense?
I think a big part is I really thought my ex had PTSD from
Okay.
his childhood and the abuse that he suffered as a child. I just thought he's just dealing with this. He promised me, he's working on it. Um, and I felt sorry for him, honestly. I really did. I knew what he was telling me was true about that. Um, I did find out he lied about being in the army, which is something I thought he had PTSD from, but he actually was never in the army. But it was just kind of this guilty feeling of like I need to help him and thinking he's just treating me this way because he's suffering himself from the poor treatment he had. So
Yeah.
that's how I explained a lot of what was going on. But also he would tell me like this is love. Like, we're sometimes at we're both the problem. I guess is how he would explain it. We're having such trouble because we love each other so much and we're just such passionate people. And so I thought, oh, like maybe that is true. Maybe we just care about each other so much. We're struggling to like find a rhythm. It
Yeah.
doesn't make sense when I explain it now, but he explained it as being so passionate that we just struggled.
Yeah. No, and in the moment, it seems like, yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly.
Did you, when you found out you were pregnant, like, was that expected? Like, were you trying to have a baby, or were you like, oh my gosh, wait, this is not the timeline I had?
Yeah, it was definitely not the timeline. I told him from the very beginning I wanted to be married at least a year, and also have all of our issues figured out before we tried having a child. But from the very beginning, he would always joke about me getting pregnant, and I knew he wanted to be a dad, which he actually already was a dad, but that's that's a whole other thing.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, I was excited at the thought of a future with him and having a kid together. Obviously, that was exciting because I loved him and I thought, oh, yeah, of course I want a kid. But definitely not as soon as we had our daughter. I found out I was pregnant like I mean, I think it was a month after we moved in together, after we got married. We moved in together like a day before we got legally married. So it
Yeah.
was like a month after that, I found out I was pregnant. And then I moved out just a couple days after that. That's when my friends moved me out. So I was absolutely devastated. I just find out I'm pregnant and now I'm moving out of my home with my husband. Like it was awful, awful timing. I was absolutely devastated.
Yeah. And did you like, would you say it was more of just like the pressuring that he was putting on it that increased the likelihood of having a kid, where it was like you didn't feel like you had much control in that decision anyway?
Yes. And he was
Okay.
also firmly against contraceptives. Like forbid me from using birth control or anything. He would not wear any contraception. Like, I mean, he was against it. And so he promised me, he would pull out before anything, happened, so I wouldn't get
Yeah.
pregnant. And it really scared me because I was like, I don't trust you honestly in this area.
Yeah.
Um And so but then he also told me, like, he didn't think he could have any more kids. So it was like this extra layer of protection he was giving me in my mind, I guess. But honestly, I do firmly believe he purposefully was trying to get me pregnant, even though he tried to tell me he was doing everything he could to not get me pregnant.
Yeah, you had so much control on you, like in every area of your
Mhm.
life. Um, I know this may sound like a weird question, but I know for me, when I was in a similar situation, like the weirdest things comforted me that I had control over. Like I was happy that I could get up at 5 a.m. before anyone else got up, and I would
Mhm.
make myself oatmeal. And that made me feel like I was in control of something.
Mhm.
'Cause I wasn't in control of the big things, so if I could be in
Yeah.
control of making myself breakfast, then I felt kind of accomplished. Did you have anything like that where you were like, "This is my thing that I feel some form of control
Mhm.
or ownership over?"
Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, it was like everything. I even
Hmm,
my eating, I was vegan up like fully vegan up until meeting him, and with him I ended up starting to eat like cheese and certain meats. Like without him I would have never done that. But it was like he made me feel like I was a pain or like a burden because I wouldn't eat the same as him, things like that. Or like my clothes, this is common in abuse situations. I was not allowed to wear a lot of things. Like he had a final say on what I wore. He had a say on the makeup I wore. I wasn't allowed to wear perfume. I got in trouble for washing my hair. Like if I washed my hair on a certain day, I'd be accused of trying to make it look really nice for the people at work once I started working out of home.
hmm,
I mean, it was everything, shaving my legs, like everything. So I honestly didn't really feel like I had much control at all in any aspect.
hmm. And when this is something I think a lot of listeners might ask as they're listening. They would say, "Why wouldn't you just get an abortion?" Like
Mhm.
after if you're being taken away from the one guy you were connected to, now you're left with a baby that you were not planning for, that you maybe didn't get even a 50% say in, like, "Hey, I'd like to talk about this a little more." Some
Mhm.
people would say, "Well, why didn't you just abort the baby to help so that you didn't have to
Mhm.
have another thing to take care of?" And so that's one thing when I came across your page that really stuck out to me is like you decided, like, I'm going to do this single motherhood thing. And a lot of
Mhm.
people wouldn't do that. And so I wondered, like, well, what made you decide not to do an abortion or an adoption or a different route so you didn't have to
Mhm.
do the single motherhood, by yourself?
Yeah. Honestly, abortion was something that crossed my mind. Like I am not going to lie. I really
Yeah.
at the beginning thought, "Oh my gosh, like I am a Christian and I do not like my values don't align with the concept of abortion." And even with me knowing in my soul that it was wrong, I still considered it
Oh,
because
yeah.
I was devastated. I was scared. I was like, how am I
Mhm.
going to do this? A million fears. But at the end of the day, I couldn't, like, deep inside me, I just could not do it. And looking back, knowing how scared I was and seeing where I am now, and my daughter is my absolute everything. Like, I literally credit her to saving me because, after my friends moved me out, I moved back in with him, and we were together for another year and a half after that. And I left multiple times in the middle of there as well. But what truly got me away from him for good was my daughter, was knowing that if I go back to him, like, she's going to get hurt, like, mentally, physically, whatever way, it's going to hurt
Hmm.
her. And so I'm like, if I would have aborted her, I really believe in my soul I would still be with him. Like, she
Hmm.
is the one thing that got me away, and she's also the one thing that got me up out of bed every single morning after I left him, when that trauma bond was really rearing its head, and
Yeah.
every part of me wanted to go back to him. She got me up in the morning. She gave me a purpose in life besides being with the abuser, because he was my world. An abuser makes you think that your world revolve, like, they are your worlds.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I don't think I could have done it without her, to be honest.
When was that time when you were like, okay, when was that day when you were like, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back?
Yeah, I remember it was November, gosh, I think it was like November 29th of 2023.
Right after Thanksgiving.
Yes, it
It's your
was. We
early
actually
holiday gift.
yes. I remember we actually FaceTimed on Thanksgiving, and it felt so awkward. We were still trying to make it work. We were living separate places. Me and my daughter were living with my parents. He was living with his family. But I think, so we had moved to Hawaii against my best wishes. I did not want to move to Hawaii with him, but we did. And when we moved back, because we couldn't afford things there, surprise, surprise, as I had told him we wouldn't be able to, we moved back, and there was just so much separation. He was working, I found a new job and was working, and he just started growing really, really distant. Like, he wasn't hounding me like he always used to. I wasn't getting text messages every day, 24/7. He no longer, like, wanted to come and see us. Um, and it wasn't just me, like, his daughter, like, he didn't even care to come see her or ask about her.
Hmm.
And I think that distance really helped. But then, he would ask me for money, like, to send him money, which he had always done. But he was asking me to send him money while I'm making $15 an hour, solely providing for our daughter. And he wanted to go on a vacation for me to send him money for.
Hmm.
So it was like a lot of things like that, where the distance allowed me to really, like, see what was going on. And then I also had a really, really strong suspicion that he was cheating on me. And
Hmm.
honestly, cheating is something that I just cannot, like, I hate to say I can deal with abuse because that's awful, but I cannot deal with someone cheating on me. I think that's just so painful. I couldn't
Yeah.
look at him the same. And
Yeah.
then I realized he was, like, on dating apps.
Which
That's
would
kind of where I was like,
explain the distancing too.
yeah. Yeah. And then I think at the end, I think the final, like, nail in that coffin was he asked me to hang out one day, and I told him I couldn't because I was busy taking care of our daughter. Had to run some grocery errands, and he got super, super angry at me and told me to just file for divorce. And I was like, okay. And I blocked him, and I went and filed for divorce.
Wow. And what was the divorce process more relieving than you thought, or was it more painful than you thought? Like, what did you think going in it was going to be like?
I'm honestly kind of shocked. It was more relieving than painful. I thought it would be really hard emotionally, and it was. I mean, it wasn't easy, but there was definitely a sense of relief in it. Like, okay, as much as this hurts, like, it's over. Like, I know what's happening next now. Where
Yeah.
future with him was so unpredictable. It was scary. It was uncertain. Being divorced from him, it was like, okay, now I can start, like, rebuilding my life.
Yeah.
And our divorce took a year and a half. It was not quick, but in the process, I could start kind of trying to plan out my next piece of healing.
Yeah. What um What is it like, Corianne, to be a single mom? Like, what does your day look like? Like, when you wake up, what are you thinking about? What is like your typical day look like? And then, is it what you thought it would be like? Is it better? Is it worse than you thought it'd be like?
Honestly, I feel like it's better than I thought in some ways. I think just coming from what I came from with my ex, it's there's so much peace. Like even though I feel like my life is kind of just I don't know, it's just kind of even kill. Like there's no like ups and downs, it's just kind of even. It's peaceful, and that is what I didn't expect to be so prevalent in it is just the peace. Like I get to
Mm.
raise my daughter exactly how I want to, and I have full custody of her. So I'm grateful for that. I know not all moms have that, and I'm grateful I have full custody. But I get to create an environment for her that is safe, that's loving, that's peaceful. And it is hard though. I mean, it's hard work. When I wake up in the morning, I do live with my parents. I mean, I unfortunately I'm not getting child support and I can't afford to have us in our own place right now. But
You should not say unfortunately, girl. You are brave. It's okay if you don't live in Hawaii. There's
yeah.
no judgment here. I don't either, so it's fine.
So, yeah, but I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I get ready, I go to work, and thankfully my parents are here, so they watch her while I'm at work, which is the biggest blessing ever. And then, I come home and her and I go on a walk every single day after work. I pick her flowers and leaves. Like she loves being outside. So we always spend like an hour and a half outside after work. And then we get dinner and, get ready for bed and play and read and go to sleep. And I think I like that routine and I know she does as well. But it's freeing. It's peaceful and it's freeing to being able to raise her the way that I know is best for her. But like I said, it is hard. It's hard everything falling on your shoulders, like at the end of the day, sometimes I have bad days, but she's my responsibility and I have to make sure that it doesn't rub off on her or
Yeah.
cause her any, feelings. It's hard. It's hard not having someone like hold you at the end of the day and help you raise your child together. Like my parents are helping a lot, but it's not the same as a spouse or a partner
Yeah.
kind of coming alongside of you and having an equal responsibility in that. I think that's hard and kind of missing that like affection, from someone that's supporting you as well in raising that child.
Do you feel like is there anything that you wish was easier I guess easier maybe in the career world or in the sense of culturally about being a single mom that you wish was maybe there were more opportunities or more um open-mindedness about being a single mom that you wish was existent?
I mean, I feel like I'm pretty happy a lot with what I see of single moms. I think single moms can sometimes, usually, as far as what I've seen, be viewed in a positive light. I think more I see that a lot on my platform. I think of single moms as like, wow, you're strong and you're capable of doing these things that a lot of people can hardly do, even with a spouse.
Yeah.
Um, but I think as far as the workforce, I mean, honestly, pay is probably the hardest part of being a single mom. And I
Yeah.
wish there was something to help with that more. I mean, I know there's different programs, I think, for single moms, but it's hard to qualify for things like that when you're kind of like in between being making too much, but not enough to like live on your own. So I don't know if there was some kind of changes within money as far as like support or things like that. But I think the biggest thing, I guess now that I'm thinking, is the child support because I see this all the time. And in my case, this is how it is where the person is ordered by the court to pay child custody and they don't. And nothing is really done about that. Like I know my ex has quit so many jobs since, I've been away from him. So he just keeps kind of skirting around having to pay child support and then they
Okay.
can't find him and like things like that are really frustrating and hard.
So if you don't receive, because is it a monthly thing you're supposed to receive a child support? Okay.
hmm
And if you don't, do you report that to the court? And then what are they supposed to do about that? Is there anything?
So I'm not for sure on this because mine was ordered in March of this year, and there was
Okay.
some issues with getting it, like, filed correctly. So I still have not received anything, even though he's supposed to pay on his own. But I believe you report it to the child support office, and they're supposed to, research their social security number or something like that. I'm not positive.
And are you allowed to follow up, or does that really not help at all?
I mean, I've tried following up, they were not very helpful, and I've heard from many women that they could be years and years behind before the court does anything. And they're
Hmm.
supposed to revoke their license, they can get jail time, but you rarely see that happen.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't know that because I have not been in that situation, hopefully never, where I'm gonna have to
Mhm,
do a custody battle, but it's crazy to me that someone's supposed to pay something and then years go by and they maybe have never even paid you once to help out. That
mhm.
is so you probably in your head and in your equation, you have to figure out life without considering any sort of child support coming in ever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't believe I'll probably ever get child support, so
Yeah.
I don't plan on it at all.
Does your daughter ever ask about dad?
She hasn't. I mean, she's 2.5, and we
Okay.
left him when she was, like, 8 months old, so she really has 0 memory of him, but, obviously she knows the word dad and, like, mom and all of that, and so I don't know that she's quite understood the concept of dad, which is sad. Like, that's sad that she doesn't understand what dad means, but I know that will come soon, and that's something that's gonna be hard to broach, I feel like, and something I'm, like, trying to figure out how I'll explain that.
Well, you may marry again because 'cause you're still really young, so she may end up
Mhm.
getting a really good dad down the
Mhm.
road.
Yeah, we actually pray about that. It's really cute because she'll pray that sometimes, but I always pray like, "God," like, we just pray, for Salem, my daughter's name, her dad, and my husband, and she always gets excited praying for that. So maybe she does kind of understand in a way.
Like, you pray together for a future
Mhm.
spouse? Oh, that's so
Yeah.
sweet. What, when you mentioned your faith and being a Christian, how does that
Mhm.
play into you being a single mom? Like, is that comforting to you? Is there promises that you take from scripture that are encouraging to you? Like, how
Mhm.
does your faith play into your life? Because you have a very I know there are two sides to this. You're gonna have, you can have a Christian culture that will come at you and say, you did awful things, so you deserve this toodaloo. And then you can
Mhm.
have another side of it where it's like, how could God do this to you? No, he failed you. You're not able to, the dream you had, which everyone as a kid mostly wants is to get married and have a beautiful wedding and be loved.
Mhm.
And it can be seen as like God failed me, that, he didn't give me that dream and allowed me to
Mhm.
walk into the situation where I was hurt so terribly. How do you stand on that? Because it seems like as I'm talking to you, you don't have a negative view of God, even though you've gone
Mhm.
through a ton of pain. And
Yeah.
so how does that work for you?
So it's actually funny. I was just having a conversation with someone about this last night, but when I was with my ex, like my view of God what got really twisted. I felt very angry at God. I felt like he was playing a sick joke on me. Like he knew this is something I prayed for years that ever since I was little, I knew I wanted to be married, not just because like that's what you have to do as a Christian, but like deep in my heart, like I wanted that. And so I was like, God, like I even waited like to have sex until marriage. Like I did all these things right and this still happens to me. Like how can this happen to me?
Hmm.
Um but my view has definitely changed since leaving and spending lots of time healing and forcing myself to get back to God because I knew I honestly have only ever been happy and peaceful and just joyous when I've been close to God. And it was like, I don't feel that way anymore. And it's because I'm not close to God. And so I just
Hmm.
turned back to my childhood and my teens and what I knew. And I just forced myself to pray. I forced myself to read my Bible. And just in reading God's word, like there were so many verses. I have a journal full of verses that really helped me during this time versus about justice and, feeling like people get away with hurting you and no consequences. I can't remember what verse
Yeah.
it is, but it says something like that they will still reap what they sow, even if it's years from now. But just seeing God's promises in that, reading like the Psalms helped a lot.
Mm.
But just knowing too, like God said, like Jesus says, he's the father to the fatherless. And that really made me think of my daughter, because it breaks my heart she doesn't have a dad. But I'm like, he's the greatest father, she could ever have. So, he protects and provides for her, but he also protects and provides for me. And just reminding myself that God didn't want me to be treated like that. And he gave me, while it was long and hard, he gave me this way to exit this relationship. And he gave me a house
Mm.
to stay in. He gave me the resources to heal and move on from it. So I honestly felt God's love even in the moments where I hated him. And I hate saying that, but I was so
Yeah.
not feeling well. So just seeing his faithfulness in it is what made me realize, you can do this. Like, he prepared you. You've got this.
Cory Ann, I have to say, I love what you're doing on your Instagram, and the fact that you've only done this for a year, and like all the people that are being encouraged by your content. I mean,
Mm.
that's amazing.
Oh.
And I think shows you that that your story is filling a gap for people, that they can hear from you and that they're not alone, because there's so many more single moms and dads now. Like, that's just not
Hmm.
rare anymore. That's a big
Yeah.
thing. And I was just so encouraged. I mean, as I said, I was just looking at different accounts, see, what story looks interesting. And yours just popped out as just very authentic. And it's been so awesome to hear your story. And I really hope my audience in hearing this is encouraged by how you're living your life, and just seeing the way that beauty is coming out of ashes.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for having me on here. And I think, like what you said, that is something I've learned most from this story, is that really beauty can come from ashes. You just have to do the work. You have to want it. And it's there.
Yeah. And single moms, like you said, you guys are a powerhouse for sure.
Hmm. Yeah.
You guys definitely are. I'll say to myself, we talk so much about feminism in our world, and when I see a mom who is caring for her child and walking with her child through life and supporting her when she can't have that support right now from a guy, I'm like, that is a real feminist woman right there. There you
Love
go.
that. Yeah.
All
Love
right.
it.
Well, Cory Ann, thank you so much. Blessings on your day. Please rest well. I know you're tired. Thanks for doing this after work.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.